So anytime your person grabs your neck from the front, like in the front headlock, we can do that first technique that we just saw. But now I'm going to show you a way when he does have a dangerous guillotine choke where he wraps your neck with his arm in front and where you're actually in danger of choking. We're going to show a really effective technique to prevent the choke. And then if he continues to hang on to your head, as a lot of people will, how you can actually counterattack and take the choke to him. So if Jesse wraps my neck, right? So if he does have this arm in, then he can't really choke me, right? Go ahead and lift and try and choke me, and like you can hear me talking, right? Because he can't really bring his hands up with this arm in the way. However, and I'm gonna have Jesse finish this choke, and I'm gonna keep talking while he does it. Go ahead and finish the standing guillotine. Hear me, because guillotines are about closing off this space. And so if he just does this and hips in, my neck's a lot bigger than that. Whereas if my arm's in the way and my neck just stays here, I can breathe. So instead, what I have to do, and this is a key thing to understand about guillotines generally, the real guillotine in like revolutionary France, they didn't take the rich people and move their heads up to the blade. They dropped the blade on the rich people's heads. And that's what you do with the guillotine, right? That's why Jesse goes down at first and like basically uses my own body weight to choke me. So if he grabs, right, and you just saw it, go ahead and lift and finish, my own body weight, I can't stop him from choking me. So instead what I'm gonna do, let's go this way. The defense, and this works from a guillotine from standing, it also works from a guillotine in other positions. I'm gonna take my hand and grab his wrist, just to give that in and of itself won't stop him. But then my hand is gonna come over his shoulder, which is gonna stop him from using my own body weight to choke me. Now if Jesse lifts me up, you can see my voice doesn't even change, right? I could sing the ABCs if I wanted to. If you can't, and I'm just gonna rotate so you can see my hand, so I want to grab here and pull my elbow in tight to my body, because I'm always stronger here. Now this in and of itself won't save me. This is the key component here. If for whatever reason, like maybe he got super tight with this and I couldn't get my grip, you can also push away on his hip, because now if he tries to finish, it's going to be difficult for him to hip in and finish, right? So one thing you'll hear me talk about a lot is holding onto a sinking ship. And so once we have our defense in, it's going to be really difficult for him to finish the guillotine. It's really going to be really difficult for him to choke us. So now we're going to counterattack. Jesse's a smart guy who does jujitsu. So if I start my counterattack and he lets go of my head, sweet, great. We're out of the situation, right? And this will happen when you're training with or competing with another skilled grappler. In the street, folks aren't going to know that you're setting up a takedown in the Von Flue choke, which is what we're going to set up. So we're going to use this to take Jesse to the ground and then choke him. You'll hear me use the phrase holding on to a sinking ship. A lot of times if an untrained opponent has your head especially, they're just not going to let go come hell or high water. They're just going to be like, I got his head, I got something. But at some point a paradigm has to shift and like, okay, he doesn't have my head anymore, now I have his neck. So here's when that happens. So we have to survive before we escape. Remember, jiu-jitsu is about one word, and it's about survival. I can have the best Von Flue choke in the world, but if he chokes me right now with this guillotine, doesn't matter, right? I'm the best unconscious guy with a Von Flue choke in the world. Bring my arm over the side. Now, if Jesse keeps trying to finish and keeps having control of my head, I'm gonna walk to one side. I'm walking away from the choke. When defending in a guillotine, you want your head and body on the opposite side. If I were to walk this way, Jesse would actually be able to finish me even with my defense in, because I'm walking right into the choke. So I'm gonna walk to the other side. Now, nothing happens, right? I walk away from his choke and into my own. Watch my right knee. I'm just gonna tap his knee, take him to the mat. Now I'm gonna ask Jesse to pretend he doesn't know jiu-jitsu right now. He does, and he would, and we'll show you this on the second time around. A skilled grappler is gonna let go of your head. You don't want that. So we're gonna keep a hold of his wrist until we pinch our shoulder to our chin. Only then can this hand come out. Now Jesse, get your hand up. He's stuck, right? So this shoulder is actually gonna choke him on one side, while my arm, which is already over his shoulder, is gonna choke him on this side. I'm gonna take my middle finger, put it in his armpit, bring him to me. Now you see how my knees are on the mat? I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna tripod up and just rotate my shoulder and hip down. You can see from the change of Jesse's face to red, that's cutting off his carotid arteries on both sides. So what we're doing is this human neck is a V. At the apex of those V's are two carotid arteries. If my shoulder is cutting this one off and his shoulder is cutting this one off, he goes to sleep. And that was coming on really fast, right?
Yeah.
So that is called the Von Flue choke after a guy named Jason Von Flue, who hit it in some UFC fights. Ovis St. Preux in the UFC also hits this regularly. I think he has 5 finishes with this choke. So obviously, and before we do it, like every technique has a setup, an entry, and a finish, right? So not every Von Flue choke comes from this setup, but by knowing how to set it up, how to enter it, and then the details for how to finish it, now that's going to amplify your knowledge about the ability to finish. But more than finishing the choke, I want to make sure that you don't get choked. So Jesse's going to wrap my head. I'm going to grab his wrist, pull my elbow tight to my body. Very important that my hand comes over here. Now we're safe. Again, if Jesse chooses to let go, friggin' great, right? We're out. If he doesn't, we're gonna walk to one side, we're gonna tap. Jesse knows jujitsu. So Jesse, what would you actually exactly? Jesse's a smart opponent where he realizes when the ship starts to sink, he has to abandon ship. So instead of keeping control of my head, knowing what's gonna happen to him, he lets go, makes frames, start to move his hips. Now I still win that exchange. Because we went from a position where we're both standing and Jesse had the chance to choke me to a position where Jesse's on his back and I'm on top. We win that exchange. The only question is how complete our victory is. If Jesse's smart, he can rob us of ultimate victory by just being like, nope, I'm out of here, right? Defending himself. A lot of folk, even folk that should know better, think, I got his head, I'm just gonna keep squeezing his head. And that's actually gonna cause them to go to sleep. So let's show you the Von Flue choke one more time. Jesse wraps my neck. I have to come in and grab. If I can't get my hands in here, I'll push his hip. Grab, walk, tap as he goes to the mat. I don't like to give up this grip until I can attach my shoulder to my chin. Once I attach my shoulder to my chin, it's gonna be hard for him to get it back even if he wants to. I wanna bring him to me, not go to him. Because if I push into him, he might be able to bridge me toward you guys, put me off balance. So instead I grab his shoulder, his gi, middle finger in his armpit, pull him towards me. It's probably getting tight right away, but what's really gonna make it work is when I do a plank, taking my knees off the mat, and when I do that, I'm just gonna rotate my right shoulder to my wrist and rotate my right hip down, and that's gonna cause him to tap right away. Because if he doesn't, blood chokes like this, there are 2 types of chokes, we can talk about that later. Blood chokes will make you go to sleep in as little as 3 to 5 seconds. So, once again, every technique has a setup, an entry, and a finish. Every technique against you has an early defense, a late defense, and a no crap defense. Very important that you get your defense in first. We have to survive before we escape, because if we don't, we've gone against what jiu-jitsu is all about. But in situations like this where the guy chooses to grab our neck and hold on, we can make him pay for that.